The Pokemania of the 90s was the tits, and not just any tits, but two hearty sambucas being rested gently on your forehead. The final hurrah of the pre-internet era. It dominated the airways in a time when your only two options as a kid were television or rock. These days, children can hop on their parents' iPad and watch all the Keemstar or full HD ISIS beheading videos they want, both equally damaging to your child. But like every kid in the 90s, when I was a little blonde-haired boobar who thought he would amount to something, Pokemon was everything I watched, played, collected, and got into strange white vans for. Like all things popular, scrutiny soon followed, and parents, journalists, and religious leaders the world over were convinced that these furry little cockfighters must be an allegory for demons, or not taking out the trash or something. This did nothing to stop us, however, and like the show's iconic catchphrase said, you should try your best to get most of them. And by God did we try. This is the history of Pokemon. Yeah. It's hard to quantify just how popular Pokemon was at its peak. While still holding massive appeal, these days a majority of the discussion is around the games of either the console or the go to the polls variety. The trading card game, while still nowhere near as popular as Pokemon Go, did recently see an uptick in interest after Logan Paul heard that it was dead and ran out to film it. But in the 90s, cardboard was king. Playing Pokemon Red or Blue required both a Game Boy, the game, and parents who loved you. Meanwhile, any kid with a few dollary dues could buy a pack of trading cards, or more realistically, steal them from the kid at school who wouldn't shut the fuck up about how cool his collection was. The Pokemon trading card game built off the success of Magic the Gathering, the wildly popular money sink for people without showers, and created a simpler game aimed at a younger audience. Of course, it was all for naught, because there wasn't a single kid I knew growing up who actually knew how to play the game, with the goal instead seeming to be who could hoard over the most cards, like an 8-year-old Smaug. As with all popular things, the answer is never user testing, market research, and an advertisement budget that could solve the homeless crisis, but the actual Christian devil. In the 1980s, Dungeons & Dragons was lambasted by God-fearing folk for supposedly introducing the occult into the lives of their gestated wholespawn, when really they should have praised its ability to prevent premarital sex, as well as postmarital sex, and any sex at all really. It's no wonder then that when Pokemon began to blow up, like one of Yandere Dev's girlfriends, it was scrutinized by Bible beaters who determined it to be the next coming of Stan, or Satan, or whatever his name is. After all, the image of a room full of hooded figures chanting to the big man down below is a much more effective fear-mongering tool than a room full of Japanese game designers deciding to name them grass types when they're clearly a variety of plants. Remember the Why? Guy? This is where that's from.
The child at some point becomes capable of taking these powers and channeling them through their mind, through their arms.
No, that's Goku. You're definitely thinking of Goku.
Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic. But while you might not take it quite seriously, I assure you that demons take it quite seriously. Satan takes it quite seriously. Your children need to know there's a devil and he hates them and he wants to ruin their life.
Was this really the best Pokemon to use to convince me it's a devil? There wasn't anything, scarier than this? How about this article from Christmas Eve 1999? Multiple churches outlawed them because kids were playing with them instead of churching it up. We've had situations where parents would bring kids to church and the kids would skip coming to Sunday school class to go out and mess with the cards. Our top story tonight: child won't play game, no go school. Child won't play game, no go school instead. The manager of Focus on the Family's Youth Culture Department said it's innocuous but robs children of time better spent doing other things. Like fucking what, dude? You're 7. Your time is spent halfway between Lemonade and Star Wars Lego. We're not toiling in industrial era sweatshops anymore. Well, the kids who make the cards might be, but we weren't. Unsurprisingly, Pokemon creator Satoshi Tajiri, a man from a country that's less than 2% Christian, was not actually a Satanist, and instead based the games on things he enjoyed from his childhood, from catching bugs to reading mangoes. And in case there was still any doubt, the actual freaking Vatican gave Pokemon the first movie its blessing, saying the games are full of inventive imagination and are based on ties of intense friendship. Although the Catholic Church also blesses rampant pedophilia, so not really too sure how much weight that carries. This article from April of 2000 also says officials fear the mafia will strong-arm its way into the craze, flooding the streets with counterfeit cards. It'll be like the scene from Godfather with the horse head, but it'll be a ponytail instead. Of course, it wasn't just religious folk trying to give Pokemon free advertising by trying to get it banned. Moral panics of the secular variety were just as common. The 90s was swept up in a fear that youth violence was on the rise, which is probably the best violence to be on the rise because it's pretty easy to defend yourself against a baby. Premium fuckwit and disgraced ex-lawyer Jack Thompson filed the first ever video game lawsuit in '97, a year after Pokemon's release, alleging that violent video games and pornography, aka the good stuff, were responsible for a shooting that left 3 teenagers dead. While Pokemon wasn't one of the games specifically mentioned by Thompson, it was indicative of a growing resentment towards gaming that anyone who lived through the time period will remember. The implications of Pokemon have always been somewhat dubious, essentially glorified cockfights, but the violence present in the games is so limp that you're more likely to turn violent from being jumped by a Zubat for the 50th time than from the actual combat. Still, violent youth crime did actually surge during the late 80s and 90s, and parents terrified to talk to their children about these issues decided to do the next best thing. Arbitrarily blame something that their child quietly enjoys. Okay, well, to be fair, there were a lot of violent things that happened over Pokemon cards. Here's a big beautiful cock article from April of 2000. There have been stories of bullying, intimidation, and aggressive trading among children desperate to complete their collections of 150 cards. In the US, police denounced the cards as America's most dangerous hobby after a surge in child crime. 6 children were arrested in Philadelphia for a Pokemon-related assault. Or how about this Daily Courier article from December of 1999? In Philadelphia, why is it always Philadelphia? 2 kids attacked an 11-year-old and ran off with 2 Pokemon cards and 75 cents. Man, forget 1999, that would have been quite a haul back in 1899. For 75 cents, you probably could have bought 2 chickens and had Pokemon battles for real. It wasn't just kids getting in on the action either. A man in North Carolina was charged with assault after punching a Burger King cashier when he realized he didn't receive a Pokemon toy with his meal, although he might have just been in shock once he realized he was in a Burger King. Like I mentioned earlier, pretty much nobody I knew actually played the cards and instead just liked licking them and trading them. Hopefully not in that order. Considering this was the closest thing kids had to a stock portfolio, we took it very seriously, and inevitably, things went awry. Almost everybody that I talked to while doing research for this video told me a near identical story. Pokemon was completely banned at their school because 2 kids did a trade and then 1 kid had buyer's remorse and wanted to trade back, but the other kid said no, resulting in tears and whining to apathetic teachers. Perhaps some slight variation on that, like kids kept having their cards stolen or some kid got stabbed over his cards. But either way, Pokemon became a continued source of contention for underpaid teachers who just wanted to nip out back for a refreshing cigarette. Let me know how Pokemon was banned at your school. To quote the late, great Tyrannus Menethil II,
"No king rules forever, my son."
And eventually, Pokemania came to an end. While it was most likely a culmination of many things, the release of Yu-Gi-Oh! In late 2001 was likely the nail in the coffin, giving the kids who had enjoyed Pokemon a slightly edgier and more mature outlet to whine to their parents about. As adults, we can't even muster the enthusiasm to care about major disasters 2 weeks after they happen, so it's impressive that children were invested in Pokemon as long as they were. While never quite reaching the dizzying heights of the late 90s, Pokemon is still alive and well. A cultural bridge between the 10-year-olds being told to go to bed and the 25-year-olds being told to rent their bed. And yes, even today, Pokemon continues to get banned for its ability to bring out the worst in prepubescence. In the brief moments that I was allowed near a school, one student called their school's ban unfounded, yet another example of unnecessary overreach by faculty members, while another student called it gay. Hell, even some adults never grow out of the mindset of the kid who steals from your backpack while you're out in the playground, as we recently saw on the disastrously inept Dumb Money stream that allegedly resulted in these bozos almost getting scammed by this Bezos into buying a tampered box of first edition Pokemon cards for $375,000. One thing's for certain, nobody could have predicted just how popular these disgusting little rodents would turn out to be.
Is it a craze? Is it a state
It's a
of
craze
being?
for little kids to enjoy themselves with. Adults are not going to get into this a lot. Adults are not going to get into this a lot. Adults are not going to get into this a lot. Going to get into this a lot.
Magnemite, Cosmog, we got a Fox.
What's up, gamer? If you like this video, you'll definitely like this video about the stupid ways mobile game ads try to siphon your hard-earned cash out of your wallet and into their asshole.